It's customary for Boise State to confer an honorary doctoral degree upon a deserving individual each spring during this ceremony. An honorary doctorate is awarded to recognize an individual of outstanding accomplishment in scholarship, creativity, public service, education, and human welfare. We are proud of this tradition and the significance it holds for all of us. This year's nominee is especially deserving, and we're absolutely thrilled to have him with us today. Robert Miller began his retail career in 1961 when he landed a job as a bottle grocer and sorter at a grocery store. He worked his way up, serving in roles of greater and greater responsibility, first at Albertsons, then at Fred Meyer, Rite Aid, and Wild Oats. In 2006, following the sale of Albertsons, Inc. to 3 separate buyers, he returned to Boise to lead Albertsons LLC, a significant contributor to the economic vitality of Idaho and region. Now, this is the part that gets really interesting. When Mr. Miller took over as CEO of this Albertsons LLC, these were stores that were underperforming. They were in deep distress. And there were those who were wondering, how is this all going to work when this once upon a time gigantic Albertsons had left Boise and left Idaho? Well, Bob Miller had been involved when many of those stores were opened years ago, and he knew they could be profitable and provide a boost to the economy and the communities they served. With an eye towards saving jobs and running good grocery stores, Bob always likes to call himself, I'm just a grocer, he says. What he is a genius turnaround man. He assembled an unparalleled leadership team. Together they led one of the biggest turnarounds in food and drug retail history. Fast forward to today, 12 years later, Bob Miller has grown the company from a chain of 192 stores across 7 states into one that operates over 2,300 stores under more than 20 banners in 35 states in the District of Columbia. He continues to serve as chairman of the board and chief executive officer. In 1994, Financial World magazine recognized Bob Miller as the Chief Executive Officer of the Year in the retail food category. In 2012, he received the Horatio Alger Award, an honor given to individuals whose courage and determination allowed them to achieve success in their field despite significant early life challenges. Honorees of this award possess a strong commitment to philanthropy and contribute to the Horatio Alger Association's mission, which is to provide scholarships for highly motivated but economically disadvantaged young people. Upon receiving the award, Bob Miller donated $250,000 to the Horatio Alger Foundation to fund 50 scholarships designated for Boise State students. And I just heard him talking out in the back here with some of our staff that he thinks they're running low, so he's going to pump some more money into that program. Albertsons under Bob's leadership has clearly demonstrated a commitment to the importance of education. At Boise State alone, you have all benefited from the generosity of Albertson over the years. Whether you've experienced a sporting event in Albertson Stadium, whether you visited the Yankee Family Research Park or the Albertson Library, you know what difference Albertsons makes for this community. Bob Miller has demonstrated a lifelong dedication to serving customers, improving people's lives, providing opportunities for thousands and thousands of people to flourish under his leadership. I am very pleased to bestow upon him this degree, an honorary doctorate of humane letters for contributions to human welfare from Boise State University. Here it is. All right, now this should get interesting. Okay. Andrew, you want to get on the other side? There we go.
See if I can find my glasses here. Thank you, President Custer, and for the warm introduction, and Dr. Finstru for presenting me with this honorary doctorate degree. I understand this award is given to individuals for outstanding accomplishments in their work, and I'm incredibly grateful and humbled to receive it. I couldn't have done it without a great team. I know some of them are here today. One thing I learned through my career from the best mentors I've had is to invest in education. I had a great example of that at Albertsons. Like we've heard, here on the Boise State campus, you probably spent a fair amount of time in the Albertson library, or you probably wouldn't be here today. In 1990, Albertsons CEO Warren McCain announced the company and its founding family would donate $6 million towards the $10 million renovation of the Boise State Library. 5 years later, when the library was redone and opened, it was named the Albertson Library, and the Warren McCain Reading Room was opened. Albertsons LLC also helped Boise State secure the Ron and Linda Yankee Family Research Park on Park Center Boulevard, right next to our corporate office. But one big investment we made at our company is Albertson Stadium, the blue. When we signed on to be the stadium sponsor, we wanted to reinforce our company's love for Boise and for Boise State and the commitment to Treasure Valley. So we signed a 15-year deal. I can tell you, in business, a 15-year contract is a long time. It really means you plan on sticking around and doing good things for the community, and we certainly tried to do that. With the examples of leaders before me showing me how investment in education paid off, I've wanted to do as much as I can for people who had dreams of pursuing higher education, even when it seemed like an impossible dream. So as I've gotten older and had a chance to invest in the education of others, I've done it. In fact, there are 40 recipients of a scholarship right here at Boise State that my family and I have contributed to over the past 5 years, and we just agreed to do it for 5 more years, through the Horatio Alger Boise State University Scholarship. I'm proud that the students selected for this esteemed scholarship have maintained a 3.58 grade point average in their studies. 14 of those students have graduated, and 1 student is with us here today to graduate. A lot of people assume that executives like me have college degrees, but that's not the case for me. One thing I learned early in life was that working hard at whatever you chose to do would get results. And while I was working hard at going to school and working hard at my job, I kept getting promoted. And there's a big difference between moving up in school and moving up from a bottle sorter to a courtesy clerk to a department manager. Even though moving ahead in school was rewarding, as most of you know today, it's mostly personally rewarding now. It doesn't yet pay the bills, but I'm sure it will. And as a young man who was getting married, we needed things like a car and money to pay rent. So eventually, when Albertsons offered me a full-time job, I took it. I thought I would always go back to college, so I put my focus on my job and my family, and I never got the chance to go back because I kept getting promoted. And I'll tell you, I don't regret making that decision, because today I look back on a career of 57 years in the same industry and know that I have made a difference in the lives of people throughout our country. But I also tell you that all of my children have master's degrees. My wife Sharon and I felt it was very important for our kids to be able to pursue whatever they wanted to do, so we ensured that they could attend school. Today, our 3 sons are very successful businessmen. I know today that all of you graduates are here, but I want to acknowledge that everyone around you helped you here today. You don't do this alone. Maybe it's your parents or your grandparents or another relative. Maybe it was a teacher who encouraged you, or even a boss sometimes. I want to personally thank you for all the support you've given these students to be here today. We need strong Boise State graduates to fill the great jobs that are out there today, who will help make our country great. I've thought a lot about what I could say that would make a difference today. I think my advice would be exactly the same if I was sitting down with a couple of you and having a cup of coffee, as it is as I'm going to talk about to you graduates today. And it's the same advice that I give new people when they're starting out at our company, or even when they're growing their careers with us and taking on more and bigger projects. I think there are 4 things that will help you to be successful. First, you have to work hard. There's really no substitute for hard work. Second, you have to tell the truth, because that's how your reputation is built. And value your reputation. I guarantee you, it's going to be with you for the rest of your life. Third, you have to treat people right. This is the golden rule. Treat people exactly how you want to be treated, and you will rarely be disappointed. And fourth, and probably the most important, you have to believe in others. One thing I learned a long time ago and became a cornerstone of my business philosophy is there's no limit to what you can accomplish if you don't mind who gets the credit. Believe in people, and they will help you be successful. But one thing that ties all these things together is passion. Early in my life, without thinking too much about it, I walked into a grocery store and I asked for a job that I could do and still play football. At that point in time, sports was my passion. So I got a job as a bottle sorter. All I wanted to do as a 16-year-old kid was have some spending money. I had no idea that taking that job in the grocery store when I was 16 would end up changing my life forever. I'd be willing to bet that no one thinks that applying for a job at a grocery store would change their lives. Think about it. The last time you walked into Albertsons and picked up a bag of apples or lunch meat or maybe some of that famous fried chicken, did you think, maybe if I worked here it would change my life? Well, it changed mine. I started sorting bottles for $1 an hour. The reason working in that store changed my life is because I learned that my passion for competition was fueled by working in that grocery store. I figured out pretty quickly that I was going to be a good grocer. I knew from talking to my store manager what I needed to do to get his job. And once I had that job, I talked to my boss's boss again, and then I talked to their bosses. I wanted to keep going. I had an idea that I could do really well in this business because I had passion. And I found out that every time I reached out, there were people who truly wanted to help me succeed. They wanted to give me more responsibility, more projects, more hard work, more connections with other people. And ultimately, I became an executive trainee in Boise in 1979, a little while ago. I got to travel to Southern California with Joe Albertsons and Warren McCain. Joe, of course, is the founder of Albertsons, and Warren at that time was the second in command and his CEO. In those days, I was in my 30s. I had a big appetite, so we went to dinner. I had a big steak, a potato, rolls. I ate everything on my plate. I was really full and ready to call it quits, but I noticed that Joe, who had gotten a big steak also, had only taken a few bites. Joe stuck his fork in that steak, threw it on my plate, and said, "You better eat that, we're not gonna waste it." So I learned on that night that having passion for something, you might want to remember to pace yourself. Because what you have on your plate can grow immediately in a very unexpected way. More importantly, what I learned from starting out as a bottle sorter and being that trainee in 1979, then eventually becoming the executive VP 9 years later, was this: when you share your passion for what you do with others around you, others will want to help you. I know that all of you could take your iPhones out or your Samsung phones and show me 27 different things that I never have even thought of with a phone. You're all very adept at technology. I think it's fascinating. I'm glad we have it. But I asked Siri, I said, "Siri, how do I get promoted?" You know what she said? She said, "Interesting question, Bob." There was nothing else after that. So then I asked Alexa, "How do I get promoted?" You know what Alexa said? "Sorry, I don't know that." So then I turned to our president and chief operating officer, Jim Donald, and asked the same question. I've known Jim since he was a night crew manager in 1976 in Florida when I was a district manager. You know what Jim said? He said, "It hasn't changed, Bob. You work hard, you tell the truth, you treat people the way you wanted to be treated, you believe in others, and you have passion for what you do. That's how you get promoted." Find your passion, find it. Find that passion, hang on to it, and if you think you might want to work in a grocery store, we'd love to hear from you. Good luck to all of you, and it's a pleasure to be here.